There's always next year, and it's only a year off. Then I will go, are more common excuses for it will never happen. Right now, I know it will never happen. Fate, destiny, or some other unnatural event has set its eyes on my life and is out to change everything I have worked for over the last 17 years. That's when he did the unthinkable, the one thing that would change everything. He grabbed my hand and held it. You'll do it, I can just tell. I swear his warm smile and hot hand melted years of ice off my unsuspecting heart. For the first time in my life, I didn't want to pull away from the touch of a man. Hey, Mom, I have plans, so don't make me any dinner. I kept my eyes trained on the sand at my feet. Really? What are you doing? I have a date, I mumbled. With who? Did you meet someone here on the base? She's not from the base. I met her on the boardwalk when Michael and I went there yesterday. I glanced up to see she wasn't as happy about it as I was. Stefan, I don't think that's a good idea. Her voice sounded edgy as she stared out at the water. Mom, please don't act like that. This is the first girl I have wanted to get to know better. Okay, so better didn't sum it up entirely. We leave in 2 weeks, then what? I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we could do the long-distance thing. I was willing to give it a shot if Stella felt the same way about me. She blew out a deep breath. I guess I don't have a say in this, do I? No, not really. See you tonight, Mom. I chuckled and kissed her on the cheek before running off to get ready. With soft and sweet brushes, his lips ghosted against mine, causing my eyes to flutter shut. My heart raced when he kissed me 2 more times before pulling back. Yep, there went the rest of the ice around my heart. She sighed. Just don't get hurt, baby. Boys from the base only want one thing from the locals. I don't think I need to tell you what that is. I nodded, running for the safety of my room. With only one full-size bed in the room, Stella and I needed to share it. Stella, come here. I patted the spot beside me on the bed. Stella looked petrified, but she crept over anyway. Don't be afraid of me. You have nothing to be worried about. I've never stayed in a hotel before. She blushed, showing her innocence. I have never spent a better night laying there holding and kissing her. She felt so right, cradled in my arms. It was like she belonged there. With her face in the crook of my neck, she softly panted, drifting off to sleep. He moaned, cupping my face in his hands. I've never felt like this before with anybody. I need you in a way I've never needed anyone. He whimpered into my mouth. Stefan started rubbing his cold hands across my wet clothes. His clothes clung to his firm physique, making him look even more defined. His chest heaved against mine, making me want to be as close to him as possible. Our shared body heat started to warm our cool, damp skin. No amount of denial could hide the effect our closeness caused. Stefan, this isn't a good idea. I don't want to be like my mom. My mind said no, but my body was screaming yes. I promise I'm not like your dad. I'll be back on August 23rd when my parents can't stop us from being together, he vowed with total confidence. I love you. Can't we wait until then? I chewed my lip, nervous. I love you so much, I feel like my heart will explode. I want to show you by giving you the one thing they can't stop me from giving you. Me. There was no fighting it anymore. He wanted it, I wanted it, and that was the moment my dreams died. Whether I knew it or not at the time was irrelevant. At that moment, I sealed my fate. A month to the day after Stefan left, my world came crumbling down. Not only had I not received word from Stefan, it seemed like my period went missing with him. It was hard to ignore the obvious signs, like the pain in my breast when I showered, the fact that I was throwing up every day, and the aforementioned lack of my period, which should have arrived 2 weeks after he left. On Easter Sunday, I was sitting on the tub wall staring at the blue plus sign when my mom busted through the door. I didn't even have time to hide the stick. The look on her face said it all. She was hurt, furious, disappointed, and ready to kill. I'm sure it was the same reaction Nana had when she found out about my mom. Since, like my mom, she was an unwed teenage mother, great. 3 generations had made the same mistake. When would we learn? There was no stopping the salty tears that slipped down my cheeks as I whimpered, Mom. My lip quivered as I fell apart. My mom sobbed when she grabbed me and hugged me tightly. She stroked my hair, whispering, It will be okay. We will fix this. When we left Fort Story before dawn, I expected we'd go directly to D.C. I was so wrong. My dad exited the highway in Maryland. When we reached the front gates of what looked like a fortress, I read the sign and groaned. Jonathan Edward Bentley Academy. My father had threatened to send me to JEB whenever I wouldn't follow his rules. Even though Michael was the closest one to being sent there, it turned out it was me that had ended up actually making it there. My father deemed it necessary for me to finish high school in a military academy. However, not just any academy. He sent me to the toughest one out there. My dad's friend, Jurgen Scott, was the commandant. Since he ran it, I was allowed late entry. Boy, wasn't I lucky. No, not really. The school was worse than a prison. No cell phones, no calls of any kind, no internet or emails, and our regular mail monitored. They read everything that came in and went out. The campus was even guarded by sentries and surrounded by fencing standing 15 feet high. The barbed wire twirls on the top made me cringe. Don't fight me, boy. Walk in there like a man. My dad's features never looked so stern. I regretted opening the door instantly. There before my eyes stood the one and only Savannah. There was no hiding the shocked look on my face when she stood there in nothing but a revealing and suggestive French maid's outfit. Before I could slam the door in her face, she launched herself into my arms and locked her lips onto mine. Struggling, I tried to get her to release me, but she wasn't hearing any of it. When she forcibly shoved her tongue into my mouth, I gagged. I heard Stella whimpering behind me. The shattering of a glass candy bowl finally allowed me to pry her mouth from mine. I spun to see Stella shaking her head. Her eyes clamped shut. The shattered bowl and its candies on the floor. Get out and don't come back. Stella screeched, stomping off. Savannah, you're despicable. Get out, I bellowed an inch from her face. The way she smirked at me over her shoulder as she strutted away told me more than enough. She wanted to put a wedge between us. I ran for the bedroom in search of Stella. Her sobs could be heard through the locked door. Baby, let me in. She's gone. Please open up. I begged through the door. I told you to get out and don't come back, she screeched again. I needed to show Stella she's the only woman I loved. I did make one stop on the way home. I bought Stella a dozen long-stem red roses. Money didn't matter when it came to being with Stella. When I keyed open the door, I hoped Stella would be roaming around the house, but it was quiet, too quiet. Frozen in shock, I dropped the bouquet to the floor and gasped. On the coffee table was an envelope with my name on it. With shaking hands, I pulled the letter from its envelope. Stefan, I can't. The vision of her on you is more than my mind can stand. It's obvious. She wants you enough to stomp on anyone to get to you. Don't look for me. I don't want to be found. Stella. Screaming out, I tossed everything from the table and flipping it over. This was not the end. They represent the 12 things I love about you. Would you like to know what they stand for? The most I could manage was a soft nod. 1. Your beauty that captured my heart the moment I first saw you. He pulled one rose out and placed it in my shaking hands. 2. The way you love me, even after everything that happened. Again, he put another rose in my hands. 3. That adorable giggle you release when you're embarrassed. My bouquet grew by one more. 4. The fact that you waited for me even after my mother lied to you and told you I moved on. I sniffled, gazing into his loving gray eyes. 5. I love the way you accept me just the way I am. I could feel my resolve flattering. 6. Your lips on mine. Your taste is better than any chocolate I have ever had. 7. Feeling your body against mine, so warm and soft. This time, when he placed the rose in my hands, he rubbed my shaking fingers with his own. 8. The intelligence you hide from everyone except me and your teachers. And 9. That you give me your heart when you denied it to everyone else. Seeing his eyes twinkle had made my knees going weak. 10. You're determined to succeed against all the odds, he sighed. 11. The way you set my soul ablaze every time you walk into the room. With one left to go, I had a feeling I knew what he was going to say. I love the fact that you don't hate me for getting you pregnant. His smile faded. My attention shifted focus when the door opened again. This time it was the surgeon. Moving closer gave him the chance to fill me in alone. We need you to stay here a while longer. The floor is still under siege. When will we be able to leave? I whispered, hoping Stella wouldn't hear me. As soon as the mother is restrained. Everyone else has been removed, but our delay in moving the twins caused us to miss the opportunity to leave when the window was still open. What do you mean? My gut feeling being this wasn't going to be the way they hoped. The mother is no longer in the nursery. She's hiding somewhere on the floor. His attention seemed distracted. When I looked at the door, I understood why. There in the doorway stood a manic-looking, ash-brunette-haired young woman holding an infant to her chest. The disturbing part was in her other hand she held a gun. Everyone in the room froze. A pin dropping would have sounded like a piano plummeting 40 feet to the ground. No one move. I don't want to do this, the mosey-framed mother threatened.